And frankly, one of the things that I want to, I guess, sort of congratulate Reformed Baptists and those in the Reformed camp is for the position of the metaphysical sovereignty of God, which is an area where some other Christians sort of break off from the Reformed tradition with respect to that. But I think that if you're going to posit an all-powerful God who is that all things are ultimately contingent on that all-powerful grounding of reality itself in God, I look around at other Christians and I go, you guys all talk about that, but like, I don't know that you guys are taking this to its logical conclusion, because the logical conclusion is what you're saying, which is this sovereignty of God that says, look, if God is in full control and truly all powerful, that means there ain't a molecule moving that isn't decreed ultimately by him. And I find that your position provides a level of consistency that maybe I don't see in some of the other traditions.
You explain that very well, and the way that I would explain it to my Christian brothers and sisters. They have not fleshed out the full ramifications of their claims of who God is, and therefore they fall into inconsistency. Ultimately, if you're claiming that the triune God of Scripture is what Protestant Christians claim that he is, the logical conclusion is exactly what I stated. So when I have these conversations with Christians who may differ from my position regarding God's sovereignty, I take them to that example, the one I just mentioned. Well, is God able to stop the man from shooting the other man in the head? Well, yeah, of course God is able. Does God know that it's going to happen? Yes, of course God knows all things. Well, if God doesn't do it, didn't he make a determination not to do it? Well, yeah, I guess he did. Well, that's predetermination. You can't escape it, right? So even Arminian who disagrees with us, when you press that issue, ultimately, I think I actually had a conversation with you, Jacob, some time ago. I think the only way to get away from that is to change the nature of God. If the nature of God is what we are proposing, then you can't get away from it.
And that's actually one of the things that I admire about where you guys are at with that logical consistency. Now, obviously, as Latter-day Saints, we have our issue is that more fundamental. We say, look, the nature of God is quite different than what Oscar is proposing, and we rightly make that claim, and so we can kind of both, I think, to some extent, have a level of at least admiration for some logical consistency and recognizing that there needs to be changes to the nature of God, because, as you said, if God's nature is the way that you guys are saying that it is, I do agree that your position seems to be far more consistent with what should result from it, right?
Sure.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want more content, including the podcast, go to thoughtful-faith.com. Thanks for watching.